It has been here for 100 million years. It shared the rivers with the dinosaurs, survived the asteroid that killed them, and grew to 10 feet and 300 pounds, the undisputed king of America's rivers. Now it's back, and the internet is convinced it returned to do one job: hunt down the invasive carp that took over our rivers. That story is everywhere. It's also wrong, and in a single human lifetime, we nearly wiped it out. We called it a trash fish. We shot it on sight. The truth about why this ancient predator came back and what it's really doing is stranger, and it starts with the fish we tried hardest to destroy. They said bringing it back was impossible. For most of human history in North America, the alligator gar was just part of the river. It sat at the top of the food web across the American South and Midwest for millions of years, regulating what lived below it, keeping the whole system in balance. Then came the 20th century and the label that would nearly finish it off: trash fish. Wildlife managers decided the gar was a problem, a bully competing with bass and catfish, the species people actually wanted. Commercial fishermen targeted it. State agencies organized electrofishing campaigns to reduce its numbers. People shot them from riverbanks and felt good about it. And then the dams came. Alligator gar need shallow, flooded backwater habitat to spawn. Dam construction across the Midwest cut off those nurseries one by one. By the 1970s, the alligator gar had been wiped from most of its northern range, gone from rivers it had occupied for 100 million years. Illinois, Missouri, Arkansas, empty the river, didn't notice all at once. It rarely does. But the apex predator slot, the thing that had kept the food web honest for longer than our species has existed, was now vacant. And that vacancy matters, because when Asian carp first escaped from aquaculture ponds in 1979 and found the Mississippi River system, they didn't overwhelm a healthy ecosystem. They walked into one that was already missing its most important tenet. Which brings us to the question the internet thinks it already knows the answer to: is the alligator gar, now that it's coming back, actually hunting these carp into retreat? We'll get there. But to understand what it's really doing, you first have to understand one man who refused to see a monster when everyone around him did. Dr. Solomon David runs Gar Lab at the University of Minnesota. He is, by most accounts, the person most responsible for changing the public conversation around alligator gar in America. He didn't come to this fish by accident. He came to it because he looked at an animal that a century of contempt had written off as worthless and saw something completely different. He saw a keystone, a species so embedded in the architecture of its ecosystem that removing it didn't just create an absence. It created a collapse waiting to happen. That reframed trash fish to living fossil, pest to apex predator, was not a popular position. The fish had been vilified for decades. Convincing agencies, anglers, and the public that it deserved a place back in American rivers meant arguing against generations of received wisdom. He wasn't alone. Rob Hilsabeck at the Illinois Department of Natural Resources had been working the same problem from the management side. In 2009, Hilsabeck advanced a formal restoration proposal for alligator gar in Illinois, one of the first efforts to systematically return the species to rivers it had been erased from. The two of them, and a small number of others working in state agencies across the Midwest, were building the foundation of something that wouldn't show results for years. That's the part people miss about this story. The work started long before anyone could see whether it was working. And the mechanism, what restoration actually involves and what it actually does, is not what most people expect. The restoration process is exactly what it sounds like. State agencies in Illinois, Missouri, and others raise juvenile alligator gar in hatcheries and release them into backwater nursery habitats, the shallow, flooded margins where the species historically spawned before the dams cut them off. It is slow, deliberate, unglamorous work. You are not releasing an animal that immediately transforms the river. You are planting a population and waiting years, sometimes over a decade, to see whether it takes hold. We like to tell the carp story as an invasion of foreign army overwhelming a healthy river. That framing lets us off the hook. It isn't accurate. Think of a house with a load-bearing wall. For 100 million years, the alligator gar was that wall, the apex predator holding the whole structure up. Then we tore it out. And when you remove the load-bearing wall, you don't get to act surprised when something moves into the space and the structure starts to sag. The carp didn't break this river. They walked through a door we left wide open when we removed its top predator, which means the fix was never going to be killing carp faster. It was putting the wall back. Asian carp entered the Mississippi River system after flooding events hit their aquaculture containment ponds in the late 1970s. A single mature female can produce between 500,000 and 1 million eggs in a single spawning season. They reach reproductive maturity in 2 to 3 years. They had no natural predators capable of managing their numbers at scale. Within 2 decades, they had pushed north into the Illinois River and connected waterways across the Midwest. Native species compressed, starved of sunlight by the silt, the carp churned into suspension declined across the system. The river changed color. The food web began collapsing from the bottom up. Every human effort to reverse this ran into the same arithmetic. To hold a local carp population flat, not reduce it, just stop it from growing, managers calculated they needed to remove 50 to 70% of the fish every single year. No program came close to that threshold. The gar, for the record, can prey on juvenile carp. An adult holding in shallow backwater cover has the speed and jaw to take young carp during a spawning season. It's plausible. But it is not, and this matters population-level control. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. What the gar does is something different, something that runs deeper than pest control. Here is what is actually driving the carp decline on the Illinois River. Since 2012, contracted commercial netting operations have removed 6.3 million pounds of Asian carp from that system. 6.3 million pounds. That is what moved the numbers. The alligator gar is not the hero of that particular story. It is not eating the carp into retreat. The internet wants that to be true because it is a clean, satisfying narrative. Ancient predator returns and sets the river right. It isn't what happened. The gar's real story is bigger and slower, and, if you're willing to sit with it, considerably more honest. For most of the 20th century, this animal was the villain of every river it touched. Anglers despised it. Agencies budgeted to get rid of it. People shot alligator gar from boats for sport and felt they were doing the ecosystem a favor. It was a bounty animal, a pest, something to be proud of eliminating. And the campaigns to remove it were effective, more effective, it turns out, than anyone understood at the time. In removing it, we pulled out the load-bearing wall of a river system without knowing that's what we were doing. The gar wasn't just a large predator. It was the thing that had organized the food web for 100 million years. Without it, the river didn't simply lose a species. It lost its structure. Solomon David looked at that same animal, the one people spent generations trying to destroy, and saw something different. Not a monster. A survivor. A living fossil that had outlasted every extinction event this planet had thrown at it. Something worth understanding. Something worth bringing back. The same species we spent a century trying to erase, now raised by hand in state hatcheries, one by one, so it can go home. The apex predator, sliding back into water its ancestors ruled when dinosaurs walked the banks of these same rivers. It won't save the river by itself. It won't do it fast. But for the first time in a century, the river isn't missing its king. Restoration programs are now running across Missouri, Illinois, Arkansas, and Tennessee. The animal is returning unevenly, slowly, in pockets of habitat where the conditions are right. The Great Lakes carp threat is real, and it is not theoretical. Asian carp are still pushing north through the Illinois River toward Lake Michigan. Electric barriers on the Chicago Sanitary and Ship Canal have held so far. 40 million people draw drinking water from the Great Lakes. $7 billion in commercial and recreational fishing depend on what lives in them. If carp establish there, the consequences are permanent. And here is the honest answer. Can the gar come back fast enough and far enough north to matter before those barriers are ever seriously tested? Nobody knows. The alligator gar is long-lived and slow to reach reproductive maturity. Stocking events running today take 15 or more years to generate a measurable population effect. 15 years. The barriers on the Chicago Canal have held since 2002, but infrastructure ages. Floods redirect water. Netting and barriers, not gar, are the actual defense against the Great Lakes. Anyone packaging the gar as a biological silver bullet for the carp problem is not telling you the full truth, and the people doing this work are the first ones to say so. What Solomon David and Rob Hilsebeck and the agencies working alongside them are doing is something quieter and, in the long view, more important. They are putting a river back together. Not quickly, not cleanly, not with any guarantee of outcome. The alligator gar did not come back to save America's rivers. It came back because a few people, over enough years, gave a hated animal the time and space to return to water it had every right to. It is not eating the carp into retreat. Nets are doing that. It is not a quick fix, and it may not spread far enough or fast enough to matter for the Great Lakes. Anyone selling it as a silver bullet isn't telling you the truth. A fish that watched the dinosaurs die is back in rivers we erased it from. And the deepest lesson it carries is this: the river was never broken by what arrived. It broke the day we removed what had always been there, and it only begins to heal when we put it back. Should we be restoring native predators like the gar everywhere we erased them, even the ones we were taught to fear? Drop your answer below.